For over a century, we believed the universe had drawn a hard line, an unbreakable speed limit etched into the very fabric of spacetime. Nothing with mass could travel faster than light. It was Einstein's gospel, the ultimate wall. And so, generation after generation, we dreamed within that cage. Our movies dared to imagine warp drives, hyperspace, wormholes. But science always stepped in to whisper, nice fantasy, but impossible. Until now. Because behind tightly guarded lab doors and anonymous research leaks, a quiet revolution has begun to crack the cosmic code. Scientists have discovered not one, but several mathematically sound ways to travel faster than light. And not just by a little. We're talking 10 times faster. Suddenly, ideas once dismissed as sci-fi hallucinations are being printed in peer-reviewed journals. The future isn't knocking. It's warping space around our doorstep. And if this technology becomes real, everything changes. Time, distance, reality itself. So hold on, because what you're about to hear may be the first chapter in a story that ends with humans leaving the galaxy behind forever. Since 1905, the speed of light, roughly 299,792 kilometers per second, has haunted physicists like an invisible ceiling. The closer an object with mass gets to this speed, the more energy it demands. And to actually reach it, that would require infinite energy, which is physically impossible. Or so we thought. For decades, this law was taken as gospel, a sacred truth of the cosmos. It defined what was possible and what was not. But there's something the textbooks forgot to mention. Einstein's theory describes movement through space, but it doesn't account for moving space itself. What if instead of propelling a ship through spacetime, we could bend spacetime around the ship, like standing still while the road rushes beneath your feet? That's the loophole, the exploit, the back door in the code of the universe. And now it's no longer just a cool idea from Star Trek. Mathematicians and physicists around the world are converging on this point, racing to master the geometry of warp fields, bubble-like distortions in spacetime that could make superluminal travel not only possible, but shockingly practical. Enter the Alcubierre drive. First proposed in 1994 by Mexican physicist Miguel Alcubierre. This concept was a game-changer. He theorized a warp bubble that compresses space in front of a ship and expands it behind. Inside that bubble, the ship doesn't move at all. It simply rides the distortion like a surfer on a cosmic wave. From the outside, it looks like it's traveling faster than light. But according to relativity, it's not breaking any rules. The ship isn't moving through space. It's making space move. And for years, that remained a fun but impossible dream, requiring insane amounts of exotic matter with negative energy densities, stuff we weren't even sure existed. But that changed when NASA physicist Harold G. White, while experimenting with the Casimir effect, discovered something breathtaking. Naturally forming microwarp bubbles, real distortions in spacetime observed at the nanoscale. Suddenly, warp fields weren't just theoretical. They were tangible, and the energy requirements reduced from infinite to a few hundred kg of exotic material. Still a long shot, but no longer a fantasy. As word spread in hushed scientific circles, something fascinating happened. Researchers in Germany, the US, and Japan began working on warp physics independently, but quietly. In 2024, a team at the University of Potsdam used gravitational wave simulations to test how warp fields might appear if they were real. And the results were stunning. Not only did they replicate theoretical warp bubble signatures, they discovered that similar patterns may already exist in archived gravitational data from observatories like LIGO. In other words, warp fields, whether artificial or natural, might already be rippling through the universe. And here's where it gets even stranger. These simulations revealed the potential to reverse engineer warp structures, not just build them. If we can recognize the gravitational fingerprint of an alien warp field, we might one day copy it. Like finding tire tracks in the dirt and using them to build a car, the implications are staggering. This wouldn't just allow faster than light travel. It would mean we could imitate civilizations far more advanced than our own without even knowing who or what they are. For decades, warp drives were treated like the unicorns of physics, pretty, poetic, and completely imaginary. But today, 3 independent models now exist with real math behind them. Alcubierre's original, the modified Neterio drive, and White's energy-efficient bubble geometry. None of them require breaking the laws of physics. All of them sidestep Einstein's limit, not by smashing through it, but by going around it. What we once called impossible is now being taught in advanced propulsion labs. And here's the thing. This isn't being driven by Hollywood dreams. It's being driven by necessity. Earth is fragile. We have no backup planet. If we want to survive, not just as a civilization, but as a species, faster-than-light travel is no longer optional. It's inevitable. Proxima Centauri b, TRAPPIST-1e. They're close in cosmic terms, but unreachable by any current technology unless we warp space. Unless we learn to bend the universe itself to our will. Because now scientists aren't asking if warp drives can exist. They're asking when we'll ride in one. If traveling faster than light bends space, what happens to time? That's where things start to unravel. In the world of Einstein, moving near light speed causes time dilation, clocks slow down, distances contract, and your mass increases. Push beyond that speed, and causality itself begins to fracture. Events could appear to happen before their causes. Imagine turning on a flashlight and the beam hitting the wall before your hand even moves. That's the paradox, one that's haunted scientists and philosophers alike for decades. But here's where warp theory gets clever. Because within a warp bubble, you're not actually accelerating. You're standing still in a pocket of calm while space moves around you. That means no time dilation, no relativistic mass increases, no paradoxes. It's like folding a piece of paper so two distant points touch. You don't need to cross the distance. You collapse it. The journey becomes a ripple in reality, and causality remains intact, at least as far as we understand it. But if warp travel becomes real, we'll need to redefine not just speed, but sequence. Because once you're moving faster than light, the question is no longer where are you going, it's when. Harold White's team didn't just stumble upon warp bubbles in a lab. They may have stumbled upon a blueprint for a technology older than humanity. Their work with the Casimir effect revealed nanoscopic bubbles with properties eerily similar to what warp field equations predicted. These weren't created, they were discovered. That raises a haunting possibility. What if the universe naturally produces warp bubbles? What if this geometry is part of the cosmic code, something written into space-time itself, waiting to be unlocked? And here's where the German team's gravitational wave simulations come back into focus. If we can identify naturally occurring warp fields, who's to say they're natural at all? Perhaps they're footprints, remnants, the afterglow of engines built by civilizations far ahead of us, racing through space, not with rockets, but with space-time itself. If we can trace these imprints, we don't need to invent warp travel from scratch. We just need to replicate the trails they've already left behind. Like ancient humans copying constellations into cave walls, we might be copying the cosmic highways of gods. It's no coincidence that while this research gains momentum in public labs, there's a curious absence of commentary from places like NASA, SpaceX, or the Department of Defense. Rumors have long swirled about classified programs working on exotic propulsion systems. And now, with warp bubbles appearing under microscopes, the silence is deafening. Harold White's lab, though technically under NASA, operates with unusual independence. Its findings, while public, are often stripped of deeper commentary. And SpaceX, Elon Musk has hinted more than once at needing non-traditional propulsion to make Mars and beyond viable. Behind the scenes, physicists whisper of private sector collaborations, military-adjacent experiments, and theoretical briefings that never make it into publications. If a prototype exists or is being built, it won't be announced with fanfare. It'll be tested in silence, far from telescopes and headlines. Because the moment warp becomes real, the race isn't just scientific. It's geopolitical. And whoever controls space-time doesn't just win the future, they define it. The ability to travel faster than light isn't just about exploration, it's about evolution. According to the Kardashev scale, humanity is still a Type 0 civilization. We don't even fully harness the power of our own planet. A Type I uses all energy available on its world. Type 2 harvests the full output of its star. But a species that controls space-time itself, that's something beyond Type 2. That's a civilization that no longer travels within the universe, but reshapes it. And with warp bubbles, Casimir vacuums, gravitational geometries, we're brushing against that level. This isn't just technology. It's a doorway. Because if we learn to bend reality to move through it, then we may also learn to bend it in other ways, create matter from energy, manipulate gravity, even distort perception itself. Warp propulsion isn't the endgame. It's the beginning of an entirely new kind of physics, one where distance becomes meaningless and here and there dissolve into points of choice. In short, we wouldn't just be building ships. We'd be building a new version of humanity, one no longer bound by the rules of the past or even the limits of the universe as we thought we knew it. For centuries, we looked up at the stars and imagined roads, lines we could someday follow, planets we could eventually reach, frontiers we would bravely cross. But the truth, it seems, was hiding in plain sight. The universe was never built like a map. It was built like a fabric, and we were never supposed to travel across it. We were meant to fold it, to reshape it, to understand that space isn't an obstacle. It's a tool, a lever waiting for the right hands to lift it. Warp technology is no longer science fiction. It's becoming engineering. And in this century, perhaps even in this decade, we may witness the first ripple, the first artificial distortion in space-time created by human hands. And from there, the stars are no longer distant. They are next door. But this isn't just about travel. It's about identity. Because the moment we bend the laws of the cosmos to our will, we stop being a civilization of Earth and we become something else entirely. A civilization of space-time, of thought, of intent. And the question now isn't will we do it. It's who will do it first. And what will they find waiting on the other side? If this video made your mind race and your imagination ignite, don't let the conversation stop here. Drop a comment below. Do you think warp travel will happen in our lifetime? Or are we opening doors we were never meant to touch? Hit that like button if you believe the universe still has secrets to reveal. Subscribe and turn on notifications because next time we'll dive into the one discovery NASA refuses to discuss publicly. And most importantly, share this video with someone who still thinks light speed is the limit.